Ever wonder why some ice cream shops leave you licking your lips with joy while others just leave a bad taste in your mouth? Picture this. It's a hot summer day, the kind where the pavement shimmers and you're craving something cold and creamy. You walk into an ice cream shop, eyes wide at the colorful tubs behind the glass, only to take one bite and realize it's more disappointment than dessert. Maybe it's icy, bland, or just not worth the price. But then, there are those rare spots that scoop out pure happiness where every bite feels like a treat worth savoring. So, which ice cream chains should you skip, and which two are actually worth your time and money? Let's get into it, starting with a chain that promises 31 flavors but often delivers. A big scoop of regret Baskin-Robbins. Before we jump in, let's set the scene. Ice cream isn't just dessert. It's nostalgia, it's summer. It's that moment of joy when you take your first lick. But not all chains live up to that magic. Some cut corners, others rely on gimmicks, and a few just can't match the quality you'd expect for your hard-earned cash. We're going to break down the ones that missed the mark, share some surprising facts, and reveal the two chains that truly deliver. Ready? Let's start with the one that's been around forever, but might not be as sweet as you remember. Baskin-Robbins is like a time machine to your childhood. Those pink and blue signs, the promise of 31 flavors, one for every day of the month. It feels like a dream come true. But here's the catch. What you see in those shiny freezer cases doesn't always match what lands in your cup. Too often, the ice cream is icy, not creamy, with a texture that feels like frozen milk rather than the rich dessert you were hoping for. Take their classic flavors, like chocolate chip cookie dough or mint chocolate chip. They sound amazing. But one bite and you're hit with either an overly sweet punch or a weak, watery taste that leaves you confused. Is this what ice cream is supposed to be? Worse, freezer burn is a real problem here. You're paying for a scoop that's been sitting too long, and it shows. A 2023 customer review survey on Yelp showed Baskin-Robbins averaging a 3.2-star rating across 500 locations, with complaints about grainy textures and lackluster flavors popping up again and again. At about $4 for a single scoop, it's not crazy expensive, but you're paying for the brand name, not the quality. Compare that to a local parlor churning out small batch ice cream, and Baskin-Robbins feels like a letdown. If you're set on stopping by, their ice cream cakes still have a loyal following for birthday parties. Those hold up better, but for a quick scoop, you're better off finding a mom-and-pop shop nearby. So, what's your take? When was the last time Baskin-Robbins let you down? And what flavor was it? Next up, let's talk about a chain that's practically an American icon. Dairy Queen. You can't drive through a small town without spotting that red and white logo, promising soft-serve cones and blizzards that scream summer. But let's be real, Dairy Queen's soft-serve isn't the creamy dream you might expect. It melts faster than you can eat it, turning into a sticky puddle before you're halfway done. And the flavor, it's smooth, sure, but more like whipped foam than rich, creamy ice cream. Here's the kicker. Dairy Queen's soft serve isn't even technically ice cream. It's labeled as a frozen dairy dessert because it doesn't meet the USDA's minimum fat content to qualify as real ice cream. That explains the chemical aftertaste and why your cone feels more like a sugary shortcut than a proper dessert. A 2022 food quality report from Food & Wine noted that Dairy Queen's soft serve has a higher overrun, meaning more air is whipped into it, making it less dense and flavorful than traditional ice cream. At around $2 for a small cone, it's cheap, and the nostalgia of a quick drive-through stop keeps people coming back. Blizzards are fun, but even those are more about the mix-ins than the base. For kids, it's a blast, but if you're after real ice cream flavor, Dairy Queen doesn't cut it. Tell me, have you ever raced to finish a Dairy Queen cone before? It melted all over your hand. Now, let's swing by Cold Stone Creamery, where the mixing show is the star, but the ice cream itself often flops. Walking into a Cold Stone feels like stepping into a desert theater. Employees chop and fold brownies, candies, and sprinkles into your scoop on a chilled marble slab. It's a performance. But once you dig in, the magic fades. The base ice cream is so sweet, it overpowers everything else, and there's often a weird artificial aftertaste. A 2024 Reddit thread with over 1,000 comments on dessert chains pointed out that Cold Stone's ice cream relies too much on toppings to carry the flavor. You're paying $6 or $7 for a cup that's basically a candy bar masquerading as ice cream. The waffle cones often stale or soggy. The signature creations, like birthday cake remix, sound exciting, but end up as a sugar overload that leaves you feeling heavy instead of happy. If you're going, stick to one mix-in to keep things balanced. But even then, it's hard to justify the price when the ice cream itself isn't the star. So, be honest, did you ever order Cold Stone just for the show, even though the scoop wasn't worth it? Then there's Carvel, the chain that made Fudgy the Whale a household name. Carvel's got history, no question. Since the 1930s, it's been the go-to for ice cream cakes and soft-serve cones. But when it comes to their scooped ice cream, it's a different story. The texture is grainy, more icy than creamy, and the flavors lack depth. Their vanilla tastes watered down, and the chocolate feels thin and chalky. A 2023 Consumer Reports taste test ranked Carvel's scooped ice cream near the bottom for texture among major chains, scoring only 2.8 out of 5. Soft serve isn't much. Better It looks nostalgic in those classic cones, but tastes generic. At about $3 for a scoop, it's affordable, and their cakes, with that signature cookie crunch layer, still have fans. But for a straight-up cone or cup, Carvel doesn't deliver the flavor you'd hope for. It's a chain built on tradition, not taste. What's your Carvel memory? Was it the cake that won you over, or did the scoops let you down too? Friendly's is next, a family diner staple that feels like a warm hug from the past, especially if you grew up on the East Coast. Those smiling Sundays with candy faces and after-school trips are hard to forget. But the ice cream itself, it's a letdown. Instead of rich and creamy, it's airy, overly sweet, and oddly artificial. The texture is the biggest issue. Too much air, or overrun, makes it feel like sugary fluff rather than ice cream. A 2022 study from the Journal of Food Science found Friendly's ice cream had one of the highest overrun rates among diner chains, at nearly 50%, meaning you're getting more air than actual cream. Sundays like the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup sound amazing, but the toppings drown out the weak base, leaving you with a melted mess. At $5 for a sundae, it's not a terrible deal, but the dated vibe of many locations doesn't help. Kids might love the novelty, but for adults, the nostalgia wears thin when the flavor doesn't deliver. So, is Friendly's a nostalgia win for you, or does the taste fall flat? Marble Slab Creamery steps up next, promising a gourmet experience, but often delivering chaos. It's like Cold Stone's pricier cousin, with a chilled slab and endless mix-in options. But the ice cream itself? It's heavy on sugar and light on that fresh, creamy depth you'd expect from a premium chain. The mixing process can be a mess in even chunks, mean one bites all candy, the next is plain ice cream. Flavors like birthday cake tastes more like frosting than actual cake, and the chocolate leans syrupy. A 2024 post on X echoed this, with users calling Marble Slab's $7 sundaes overpriced for inconsistent quality. For that price, you'd expect a scoop you can savor, but it often feels like a sugar bomb. If you're curious, try a simple flavor to avoid the chaos. But Marble Slab's more about hype than substance. Did you ever leave Marble Slab thinking it was worth the cost, or was it all just clever marketing? Now, let's talk about Sub-Zero nitrogen ice cream, where the science lab vibe is cool, but the dessert falls flat. The liquid nitrogen show is a crowd-pleaser. Clouds of fog, instant freezing. It's like a chemistry experiment you can eat. But once the spectacle fades, the ice cream often tastes bland, icy, and hollow. The nitrogen freezing process sounds cutting edge, but if it's not done just right, you get a grainy texture with tiny ice shards instead of smooth cream. A 2023 food blog review from Eater noted that Sub-Zero's flavors rely heavily on syrups and toppings to mask a weak base. At $6 or more for a scoop, you're paying for the show, not the quality. It's a fun one-time trip, especially for kids, but it's not a place you'd crave for the taste alone. Would you go back to Sub-Zero for the flavor, or is it all about the foggy spectacle? TCBY takes the next spot, a frozen yogurt pioneer that ruled the 90s but feels stuck in time. Back then, it was the king of healthy desserts, with lines out the door for its soft-serve yogurt. But today, the yogurt is watery, chalky, and overly sweet, with flavors like vanilla and chocolate that taste artificial. Modern froyo shops offer tart, fruit-forward options, but TCBY's stuck with dated recipes. A 2024 Yelp analysis showed TCBY averaging 3.1 stars across 200 locations, with complaints about texture and stale toppings. At around $4 for a cup, it's not the worst deal, but newer chains do froyo better. TCBY's nostalgia is strong, but the product hasn't kept up. Do you think TCBY deserves a comeback, or is it time to let it go? Culver's frozen custard slides in next, a Midwest favorite that's a hit when it's fresh, but a miss when it's not. Custard should be creamier and denser than ice cream, and Culver's gets it right, sometimes silky, rich, and indulgent. But consistency is the problem. Some locations serve custard that's been sitting too long, turning grainy or watery. A 2023 taste test from Serious Eats noted that Culver's custard quality varies widely by location, with some stores scoring high for freshness and others flopping with stale batches. Flavors rotate daily, so you might show up wanting chocolate and get stuck with plain vanilla. At $4 for a scoop, it's a decent value when it's good, but the gamble makes it risky. Have you ever had Culver's custard blow you away one day and disappoint you the next? Rounding out the avoid list is Ben & Jerry's scoop shops. Don't get me wrong, Ben & Jerry's pints are legendary. Flavors like Cherry Garcia and Half-Baked are grocery store gold. But the scoop shops, they often fall short. The ice cream can be icy or less fresh than the pints, and the texture isn't as creamy. A 2024 Consumer Affairs report gave Ben & Jerry's scoop shops a 3.4-star average, with complaints about freezer burn and limited flavor options. At $5 for a single scoop, it stings when a pint from the Storefant cheaper tastes better. The shops lack the quirky Vermont vibe you'd expect, feeling more like generic franchises. Stick to the pints for the real Ben & Jerry's experience. Which flavor do you love more from the pint than the scoop shop? Now, let's switch gears to the two chains that actually deliver. First up is Jeni's Splendid Ice Creams, a trendsetter that lives up to its reputation. Walking into Jeni's feels like a treat from the start. Forget boring vanilla flavors like Brambleberry Crisp, salted peanut butter with chocolate flecks, and brown butter almond brittle steal the show. The texture is dense, creamy, and smooth, with no icy shortcuts. A 2024 Food and Wine review praised Jeni's for its bold, balanced flavors and high-quality ingredients, scoring at 4.8 out of 5. Unlike chains that pile on toppings to mask bland, ice cream Jeni's builds flavor into the base. Their Brambleberry Crisp tastes like real fruit and streusel, not artificial syrup. At $5 or $6 a scoop, it's pricey, but the generous portions and unforgettable flavors make it worth it. The shops are bright and modern, adding to the special vibe. If you're picking one flavor, would you go bold with goat cheese with red cherries, or play it safe with a twist like darkest chocolate? Finally, we've got Greeter's Ice Cream, a Midwestern gem that's been perfecting its craft since the 1800s. Greeter's uses French pot freezers to churn small, 2-gallon batches, creating ice cream that's insanely dense and creamy. Their signature move: pouring melted chocolate into the ice cream as it freezes, forming giant, uneven chocolate chunks. Flavors like black raspberry chocolate chip and Buckeye Blitz have cult followings, and even their vanilla is so rich it feels luxurious. A 2023 taste test from Bon Appetit gave Greeter's a 4.9 out of 5 for texture and flavor consistency. At $5 a scoop, it's not cheap, but every bite feels like a labor of love. Those chocolate chunks are a game changer. Have you ever hit one so big it made you pause and smile? There you have it, a rundown of ice cream chains that let you down and the two that make every scoop worth it. From icy disappointments to creamy perfection, the ice cream world is full of surprises. Which chain broke your heart, and which one's your go-to? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, give us a like and subscribe for more tasty truths. Keep chasing the perfect scoop.